morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. Here we go, October 14th. We're about halfway through the month. We've had a lot of events the last couple of weeks. You can catch up on those on our YouTube channel, and we still have a lot more coming before Halloween and the start of November. October is our space exploration month, so we always connect with astronauts and scientists and engineers who are exploring beyond our planet, our solar system, and out into the universe. Then, of course, turning an eye back on the Earth and looking at it in ways we've never been able to before. So if you head to exploringbytheseat.com, you can find all the space exploration events still to come. There's a lot of them, so we hope to see your classrooms joining us throughout the rest of this month. Okay, well, we always like to connect with people who have left our planet and looked back down on it. They always get such an amazing perspective looking back at our home. And today we're going to connect with Nicole Stott. She has explored from the heights of outer space to the depth of our oceans. Her experiences include 2 space flights and 104 days living and working in space on both the Space Shuttle and the International Space Station. One of the highlights for her was being the first person to paint a watercolor in space, which is awesome. She's also an Aquanaut, meaning that preparing for space flight, she was on the Nemo 9 crew, living and working underwater for 18 days. Now, retired from NASA, still an incredible artist. She's combining her artwork and spaceflight experience to inspire creative thinking about solutions to our planetary challenges, raise awareness of the surprising interplay between space and art, and to promote the amazing work being done right here every day to improve life on Earth. So she's the founder of the Space for Art Foundation. I'm going to reach backstage all the way to Florida. I'm going to grab Nicole from backstage and get her in here. Hey, Nicole, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. Always nice to be with you, Joe, and the kids around the world. It's awesome.
Yes, Nicole, it's always great to steal a little bit of your time. You've got some great classrooms joining us from different places across Canada and the US, like Illinois, California, and Wisconsin. If you're tuning in via YouTube, don't be shy. Use the chat sidebar. Let us know where you're tuning in from. But Nicole, I'm going to let you take over for a bit. We're going to talk a little space action, maybe a little underwater action. We're going to play with some video sharing. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. A little bit different stuff today with the presentations. But Joe, I am always happy to be here. You know, I love the name of all of this, Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. I think that's what whether you're a professional or not, that is what you are doing. And I hope that everyone who is joining us today realize that just in everyday life, if you just open up your heart and your mind to the awe and wonder that surrounds you every day, it's amazing what you can discover and explore and learn even more about who and where we all are in space together. So I wanted to share first a little video that just gives you some highlights from what Joe described as, the Aquanaut side of things, the living underwater for an extended period of time, where I was honestly blessed to have this experience of living in what we call inner space, undersea, to learn how to live and work in outer space. So just a quick glimpse of that. And then some highlights from my 2 space flights, where on my first one, I got to spend a little over 3 months on the International Space Station. And then on my second flight, I was there for 2 weeks. And I can tell you, I wish it would have been the other way around, where I had the longer one last, because although I won't complain, but I think there's something about being in that really extraordinary place and not knowing if you're going to be back there again, and all of the experience that goes along with it. And then I'm going to show you a second video that I haven't shared on this platform before, but I think Joe mentioned something that's really important, which is no matter where we're exploring, whether it's here on Earth or it's off the planet in outer space, ultimately what we're really doing is we're understanding better our connection to all of it, where we fit in all of it. And one of the things I love about the work I got to do in space is that all of it comes very positively back to Earth. Everything we're doing as NASA astronauts or the international astronauts on the International Space Station, and when we think about going back to the moon and on to Mars, yes, we're exploring off the planet, but ultimately it's all about improving life on Earth, about bringing it back to Earth. And the second video was, it's just a quick summary of an event I got to participate in April when we were celebrating Earth Day. And we had this big event in London, lots of art and science and sea and space, like movie showings and panel sessions. It was awesome. And so I wanted you guys to get a little glimpse of that too. So let's see if I can make the first video work. All right, I'm going to hit the buttons, Joe.
Always an adventure with technology.
Right. Here's the first one coming up. Yeah. All right. Let's see what happens.
All right, it's loading. It's up.
Yay.
Looks good, Nicole.
Yay.
Here we go.
Start. 2, 1.
Clear, Nicole. Okay, coming out. And Pat, I can verify I've got 2 handles down. I want to avoid that. Okay. Yep.
All right. So I realized that I didn't describe for you what you would see at the end. So, and Joe, I hope, were you guys able to hear the music at the beginning of the
Oh
video?
yeah, everything played through, but we lost it for the art part. So you want to tell us a little bit about, a little bit about the end part?
Yeah. So I didn't realize I wasn't going to be able to speak while this is playing. So that's good to know. But so that second part, and it's something I like to share too, is I think sometimes it's a little surprising when people discover that astronauts also play music or do art or quilt or weave baskets or, these kind of creative things that you think of separately from the technical. But I can tell you, I would say 99.9% of my colleagues have, and across the technical world, have something creative going on too that they really love. And I like to think of that too, about using your whole brain, like bringing all of your talents to bear for whatever problem you're trying to solve, or just, enjoying life in general. And I had the chance to paint in space. So all of that stuff you saw at the end was what I've really tried to carry forward now, is this love of space and what we're doing there to benefit life on Earth, and then bringing the art into it as well, and engaging with people who might not even know we have an International Space Station or what's going on there. And so the work you saw is part of the Space for Art Foundation, where we believe we are uniting a planetary community of children through the awe and wonder of space exploration and the healing power of art. We've done these really cool art spacesuits with the kids' artwork and been able to create some really amazing things with that as well. Some of which you'll see in this next video that got to be shown on the ginormous Piccadilly screen in London, kind of like the Times Square screen that you'll see in New York City somewhere. And but I want you to see this and see how all of this and what you love, whether it's art and space or art and space like I do, and the ocean, how it can all come together very beautifully and meaningfully in the purpose you have in life, which I feel like, now my whole purpose is to share with you guys how to be crewmates, not passengers, on our planetary spaceship. So that means acknowledging how important our ocean and our whole planet is to us and our survival, and that we're all on an ocean planet in space. And so let me see if I can bring up this next one. Joe, do I just go to the next present button?
Yeah, if we just do present again and pick a video file,
okay,
we should be good to go.
All righty. And this one I think has music all the way through.
Okay. All right.
Hope you like it.
I see it loading. Here we go.
Grew out of the inspiration of that iconic Earthrise image, Earth rising above the horizon of another planetary body, the moon, and seeing ourselves in space like we never had before.
We share the same atmosphere, we share the oceans. We need to look after it.
We're really trying to capture people who would never maybe have a chance to see this kind of content about the ocean, about space.
This is about celebrating planet Earth and giving a voice to our most precious ecosystem, the ocean.
If you can't involve people in a small way themselves, then how will they truly ever care?
Once we have that emotional response, that's when the change can happen.
Good news is that there's hope.
This is it. This is the phenomenal planet that we are privileged to live on. And that's why we need to work together.
This is our home. This place was perfectly designed for us.
We've been given such a gift, and we have to do whatever we can to preserve it.
One thing that gives me tremendous hope, every generation we can learn and adapt and change.
Once people love something, they'll do anything to protect it.
Okay, that's that one. I hope you like that. Joe, I don't think I've shown you that one before.
No, I don't think so. I think that's the first time we got to see it. Pretty cool to see so many people excited about space.
It was amazing. It was amazing. That was, I mean, I think it just between the art and the film and the imagery and all of that on those big screens was real imagery from, space probes, the solar space probe looking at the sun, all the way down to, the Schmidt Ocean Sciences with the tiniest little life that's in our deep oceans. I think it just reminds us, it does remind us who and where we all are in space together on this ocean planet. So, all right, I'm going to zip it now, and hopefully we have some really good questions, because
I have no doubt that we're going to have lots of great questions. We're going to play a little Kahoot together.
Yay!
Before we get into the Q&A action. So, if classrooms have devices handy at their seats, you can use them. Otherwise, you can just play. It'll come up at the front of your room. You could shout out your answers to your teacher. If you're at home, you can play along. But while this is sharing, Nicole, I'm going to ask you a few questions while students start to join and I start the screen share. And the first thing I want to know about is, when you're orbiting the Earth, you're seeing the sunrise and sunset over and over and over again. How often, how long was each sunrise, and did that kind of mess with your rhythm a little bit, having that happen?
It's funny because it's really cool, because what are we traveling at, like 17,500 miles an hour, right? So about 5 miles a second, which means we go around the planet every 90 minutes. So every hour and a half, we're going around the planet. And because of the way the Earth rotates and is tilted and how fast we're going, every 45 minutes-ish, we get a sunrise or a sunset. So 16 times a day, we have a sunrise and a sunset. And, which is gorgeous, I can tell you. And all the colors of, the spectrum come up and go down with that sunrise and sunset, and the lights of Earth and the glow of the atmosphere. It's incredible. It doesn't mess with us too much, because we don't have like big, floor to ceiling, wall to wall windows on the space station. So you almost have to purposefully go to a window to see this going on. Or unless you're near one, do you get the sense of night and day? And so really inside of the space station, it's kind of like being in this messy room. And if you didn't have any windows, and you just would have to kind of control the night and day with the lighting that you have in the place. And what they've done is they've actually installed lighting where when you get up in the morning, the light is blue, which helps get you going and wake up. And then throughout the day, it's kind of normal, white light. And then at night, right before bedtime, about an hour or so, they shift to kind of a reddish light, which helps your body kind of, get sleepy, I guess. Yeah, because on board the station, I can tell you, before, when you have this free time at night after dinner, and you can just get caught up in that view out the window to the point where, hours will go by and you'll forget about going to sleep. So it's good when you can remind yourself it's time to sleep too.
Yeah, very cool. So 90 minutes to get around the planet. That's pretty fast.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so it's up there now. Kahoot.it is where you want to go if you have a device at your seat. It's up at the front of the room if you don't have devices at your seat. Kahoot.it. Your pin for today is 864-8863. And then, Nicole, I noticed in one of the videos, in the first video, you were working out pretty hard. Is that a pretty important part of your day when you're on the space station?
It is. We work out 2 hours a day, both resistive, like weightlifting exercise kinds of things, as well as aerobic, because we need to keep our heart healthy and strong. We need to keep our muscles healthy and strong. And as you can imagine, when you're floating around, 95% of the time, your brain and your body figure out you don't need bones or muscles anymore. So they don't waste any energy maintaining them. So we have to very purposefully maintain our bones and muscles. And it's awesome to be able to work out in space. Is so cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, we still have a few classrooms joining, so I might give it another 30 seconds. Caesar is joining us from Nicaragua and sent in a question online and is wondering, after the launch, is it kind of a gradual process that you start to float, or is it more like a right away kind of thing when you feel that loss of gravity?
As soon as the engines stop and you're in space, immediately, like you go from like feeling like three of you are holding you down in your seat to just this, like immediately, like this floaty kind of thing. And if you weren't strapped in, you would just float out of your seat. You can see your pencil floating on the end of the little, and anything that's not tied down is going to float up around you. It's pretty wild. So some people are bothered by that, you know, where they go from this load on their body to nothing. And now imagine also immediately you have no sense of up or down. The little hairs in your ears that tell you what's up and down, they're floating too. So they can't tell you anymore what's up or down. And you're getting different visual references and stuff. And then combine that with looking out the window. It's an interesting process, but it's worth, I highly recommend it.
All right. Well, I think we're ready to play some Kahoots. So I'm going to hit start. There's some true and false. There's some multiple choice. The quicker you put in the right answers, the more points you're going to get. Yeah, let's play, and then we'll finish the rest of our time. We still have a nice bit of time for Q&A too.
Good.
So how long did it take Nicole to orbit the Earth each time? Was it 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, or 150 minutes? So up there in the space station, orbiting our planet, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, or 150 minutes. We already have over 60 answers in. We still have 12 seconds to go to get your answers locked in. 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, or 150 minutes for each orbit of our planet. All right, good job, crew. Most went with 90 minutes. Let's see what that did to our scoreboard. That puts the focused parrotfish into first spot. True or false coming your way. Living underwater is a great way to prepare for space flight. What do you think? Living underwater is a great way to prepare for space flight. True or false? A little shorter time on a multiple choice, or sorry, true or false. You've got about 9 seconds to lock something in. You think living underwater is a great way to prepare for space flight. All right. No fooling me, students. That is true. The Nemo 9 mission, for example. And I'm trying to remember. We connected once to one of the Nemo missions, but it was so long ago, I don't remember which number it was. But I know it wasn't 9 because we didn't get to hang out.
So. It wasn't 9, but
no.
I'm hoping, Joe, I'm still hoping there'll be a time where we can go back to an undersea habitat, go there together, do a mission there. That would be fun.
Really, really cool. All right. The focused parrotfish is hanging on, but it is close. We have another true or false coming your way. Exercise in space isn't an important part of life on the International Space Station. So what do you think? Daily exercise, not that important. You can probably skip it a few days. It's not that big of a deal on the ISS. You've got about 8 seconds to lock it in. And we'll see what happens on our leaderboard. All right, we know that's false. Exercise is important. Probably even longer sessions to make sure you're getting that resistance on your body.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I had one crewmate who will be unnamed who down on Earth does not like exercise or sport at all, but knew how, and would do it because he knows it's important to stay, just with the job and everything. But in space, was very deliberate and diligent about doing exercise because your body will just turn into a blob if you don't do it.
Did you, I know when you come back after your time on the space station, did you notice, obviously measurements were taken. Did you lose a little bone density or muscle mass, or were you pretty good?
Actually, the exercise protocols, the exercise we do up there is very effective. So most people are, and I was one of them, with what they said was statistically insignificant bone loss, which is fantastic. And then it's recoverable, but they're still doing so much science on the quality of the bone and how we correlate that, map it to the way bone changes are here on Earth over time. It's a really, really important thing for us to be looking at while we're in that floaty environment.
All right. Well, that question gave the timeless sea lion the opportunity to take the lead. And we have one more question to wrap things up. Nicole made the first what in space? Was it a taco? Was it a watercolor painting? Was it a story? Or was it a sweater? So taco, watercolor painting, story, or sweater. I can almost see you up there in the cupola knitting a little sweater and looking back down on Earth. So maybe that was it. Maybe it's a taco, maybe it's a story, maybe it's a painting. It's up to our students to decide what they might have heard over the course of our hangout today. All right, good job, crew. Only one person went sweater.
Which I think has happened, yes.
I believe it. I believe it. All right, so we got to look at our podium now. In third place, we've got the yellow narwhal. In second place, the red horse. And top spot goes to the timeless sea lion, holding on for the last 2 questions. All right, let's stop that screen share. Let's stop that music. Thanks for playing along, gang. And let's get some faces in here. Let's get some Q&A action going. So I'm going to start by grabbing Mrs. Lamb's 5th graders. Let's get them here front and center. Hey, 5th graders, how are we doing today? So there's our 5th graders. They are joining us from California today. All right, let's get a couple questions. Who's got a question for Nicole?
Come stand right up in front and center so you can hear me.
And nice and loud for us.
Can I go? How old were you when you first went to space?
Oh my gosh, I don't remember. So I'm gonna let you guys do the math. I should write this down or like put it into my brain cell somehow. So I was born, this is gonna seem like super long time ago. I was born in 1962. I know, and I flew the first time in 2009. I got to do the math. I can't even do it in my head.
Right, she was definitely in her 30s.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna let
47. I know that seems so old, doesn't it? But it's not really. Especially now that I'm on my 60s, 47 seems like a youngster.
All right. I'm going to come back to you, Miss Lamb's crew, because I just got a message that the bell's going to ring in one of our classrooms. So I want to make sure they get a couple questions in before they have to leave. So I'm going to get our crew. Let me see where they're joining us from. Let me pick the right one. There we go. Joining us from Wisconsin. Let me get them in here front and center. Hey, 7th graders, how we doing? All right, let's get some questions before the bell.
Okay, what was it like to do watercolor in space?
Oh, it was awesome. And imagine floating balls of water instead of dipping into a cup of water. It was fantastic. I hope you're still there.
All right, let's grab another one before you have to go inside. I know I just heard the bell.
How does the water, what does the water do when you're painting?
Well, it floats. So water floats like a big ball and little drops of it are floating like big balls. So I would dip my brush into a floating ball of water and then it would just kind of float on the end of the brush. And then I'd mush it around in the paint and I would bring up this ball of colored water. And then I got to drag that along the paper to paint with. It was very different than how we paint with watercolors down here, but it really wasn't more difficult. It was like everything up there. You just have to figure out how to do it when you're floating and everything floats. It was fun.
All right. Thanks, Wisconsin. I know you have to go outside. But have fun on your break. Okay, let's go to another group here, the Space Explorers in Chicago. Let me get them front and center.
All right. Hi, Joe and Nicole. 4th grade, say hello. Hi. So our question for you is, so Nicole, when you were in 4th grade, so about 9 years old, 10 years old, did you desire to be an astronaut? Or another question related to that is, when did you know that you wanted to do this? So those are our questions for you today.
Okay, yeah, great questions. And when I was in 4th grade, I think what I was really thinking about was I loved flying. My dad built and flew small airplanes. As a family, we hung out at the airport a lot, and I got to know flying people and get to go flying in little airplanes. So I developed this love of flying and wanting to know how things fly. I mean, I wanted to fly myself, but I really want to know how things fly. And then as I got older, I was like, man, if you want to know how airplanes fly, why would you not want to know how rocket ships fly? And when I graduated from high school, that's when the Space Shuttle program was getting up and running. I was really excited about learning how rockets flew to space. And so I studied that. I knew and had watched moon landings and was really excited by this idea of being an astronaut. but I never really thought about it for myself until later when I was working on making rocket ships fly, working on the space shuttle. I got to see what astronauts do and discovered that, you know, most of what an astronaut does is, sadly, to astronauts not flying in space, it's here on Earth, but all that work is so incredible that you do on Earth as well. And learning that a lot of that was a lot like what I was already doing as an engineer for NASA on the space shuttle and the space station program. And I got beyond this idea of thinking that astronaut was for other special people. And I started thinking about it more seriously. I reached out to people like you as a teacher, to the people that I worked for, and they just encouraged me to pick up the pen and apply. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made. And the job, beyond just the adventure of it, which I highly recommend, don't get me wrong, launching and landing and flying in space. But what really made me want to apply was discovering that all of the work we do there is about improving life on Earth. And that just made it, I don't know, that's a really special thing to be a part of.
All right. I am going to go back to Mrs. Lamb's fifth graders who we jumped away from way too quickly to let them have some more questions.
When did you start trying to become an artist and astronaut, and like when you start doing it in space?
So art was always, I mean, I don't ever remember not doing some kind of art. My mom was very creative. And so, I mean, I remember going to art classes with her when she was trying to do new things, and I always enjoyed it. I never really studied art other than kind of a class here and there. But so most of what I do is pretty experimental, but I love it. And I love that I can use art as a way to share like the spaceflight experience in a way that people might not imagine, you know, painting pictures of what I saw through the window of the space station and getting people engaged with what we do in space that way. And I was really, really happy to discover that all of my crewmates they're playing musical instruments on the space station. They're writing poetry, they're quilting. I mean, all of these things were going on for these people as astronauts, just as much as, you know, them thinking about themselves as artists or doing creative things. And so I think it really helped me as an astronaut too, to think creatively about stuff beyond just the science side of it all. Yeah.
All right. I see we have a good lineup, so we'll keep the questions coming. But I want to remind those on YouTube, don't be shy. Send us more questions in via the chat. Our space explorers backstage, if you want another question or two, just let me know in the private chat as well. But let's keep things going with our Southern California crew.
How did you put on the spacesuit?
Very carefully. I mean, there's a lot of parts to it. So especially for the one where you go outside and do a spacewalk, you've got like something that's kind of like a thermal underwear kind of thing that you wear first, and then this cooling garment that looks a little spacey, and then you put the big parts of the suit, the kind of like the top and the bottom on, the pants on, and the boots and the gloves and the helmet. And I say very carefully because you want to make sure that all of it is sealed tightly so that you get, you know, all of your air and everything that is being provided to you inside that suit and the protection from the vacuum of space. And so it takes an hour or so to get your spacesuit on in space. And then the same when you're taking it off. You're a little less careful, but you want to make sure that you take care of all those pieces so the next time they have to be used, they're in good shape for somebody else to wear the suit. Yeah.
All right. I like the reaction to an hour. I saw a jaw drop up front.
How does your body feel in space?
Oh man, your body, I felt so good in space. I mean, imagine right now you could just gently tap that desk next to you and you could float up to the ceiling and you could roll and float and fly and move just effortlessly. I mean, your body feels really good, at least mine did. And that's not to say that when you get there or that when you're coming home after, you might not feel a little bit weird at first because your brain and your body aren't used to that kind of floating all the time. But we figure it out very quickly and it just feels fantastic. Highly recommend it.
How do you take showers and brush your teeth in space?
Okay, so I hope you saw the brushing your teeth in the video. I mean, we brush our teeth pretty much the same way we do down here on Earth. But one thing is we don't have running water, right? We just are squirting water out of a little drink bag. And so you don't have a place really to spit your toothpaste that will like run down the sink like you do down here on Earth. So we figure out very quickly how little amount of toothpaste you need to brush your teeth, because you're either going to have to, one, spit it out into a paper towel or something, and then that goes into the trash and that gets kind of icky. Or what most of us do is swallow it, which you get used to, but I don't recommend that. And do not do that with your toothpaste down here on Earth. And because we don't have running water, we don't really have showers. But what we do have, remember when I talked about painting in space, like squirting out balls of water? What you can do is you can squirt out a ball of water and then you can stick your arm through the ball of water because it's just floating there, and it'll make like a glove of water on your arm. And then you can mush the soap around and then you can put your arm through another ball of water and dry it off. Or you can just squirt the water really slowly onto your body and it makes like a glove of water on you. And unless you shake it, it's not going to fall off because there's no gravity pulling the water off of you. So it's kind of like a glorified sponge bath, I guess, but I never felt like I couldn't stay clean on the space station. It really was kind of this cool experience that you had to have, part of the adventure of being in that floating place and having to do things differently. Yeah, very fun.
All right. Well, we're going to dip to YouTube now and take a few questions from there. But Miss Lamb's crew, if you do have another one, you can send someone up to the camera. I'll keep an eye out. Okay, so this is from Toronto, Ontario. Looks like a 6th grade class, and they're wondering what your favorite meal in space was.
Oh, yeah. So food is different up there, right? We've got, it's kind of like camping food where you add water to everything to rehydrate it because we suck all the water out of it before we send it to space because first of all, it's really heavy to send wet things to space. Water weighs a lot. And apparently when you suck the water out of it, it stays it has a longer shelf life than if it's wet. So, but my favorite thing, so 2 things. One, like for dinner, my favorite thing was the Japanese curries. They were delicious. I mean, I would eat them down here. They were so good. And they were the kind of thing where you had to add the water to it. And then they had really good rice that went along with it. And then my other favorite thing was what my husband and my son sent to me. It was kind of a treat that I was able to receive in these care packages that they would send up. And it was these delicious pieces of chocolate covered ginger that was so good. And it had, I mean, my crew loved it. I shared it with them too. They were like these little cubes and we would cut them into 6 pieces so that it would go longer. And after dinner, we'd just have a little taste of it. And just really, really wonderful to have that in space too.
All right. I've got a class in Nova Scotia who's curious about the process for being selected as an astronaut. What was that like?
Well, it's kind of a mystery, really the whole process. You get, you apply to this call for applications and you never quite know if you're going to get a response or not. And I was very fortunate when I applied the first time to get an interview, and that involved like being in Houston for a week with 20 other people and going through all different kinds of, just an introduction to what NASA is all about and meeting people and medical assessments, and then an hour-long, what I guess you would call the interview. And the first time I didn't get selected, but the second time I did. And I still don't know why they picked me over other people. But now I got as an astronaut to sit on the other side of the table and actually interview people coming in. And what you discover is that once you get the interview, we already know about your school experience and your work experience and that kind of thing. What we really want to understand it better is about you as a person, as an earthling, as a human. Am I going to want to spend a long period of time in a confined space with you? Or do you have a personality? Are you can I trust you to have my back when things go wrong or when things aren't going as normal? And, the kind of person that you'd want to be with on a mission, doing important stuff. And so I think the selection process, it's a long one. And it's a little bit frustrating because you don't know whether or not they're even going to reply to you when you apply, but it's so worth it to put yourself out there for these kinds of things. And I think I can honestly say, if I hadn't been selected, the process and the people I was able to meet during those groups where we were being interviewed and along the way are still very important to me in my life. And I know there would have been other pathways that would have opened up as a result of it. So very grateful that I got selected. But I think these are the kinds of things that you need to put yourself out there for, and other opportunities open up from it as well.
Okay. And then I've got some grades in New York who want to know about what you think about all the private action we're seeing in space exploration right now.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really exciting things going on. I mean, number one, a lot of the private stuff you see going on is really still a partnership, what we call a public-private partnership. So NASA is working with SpaceX, and even we've got some of our students are from Canada, and these international partnerships that are going on. Think about us going back to the moon. There's a lot of private activity going on associated with that, but there's some really important international partnerships that are continuing. I mean, that first mission around the moon again in February, Jeremy Hansen from Canada that'll be his first flight, and he's going to the moon. And first person of color, first woman going to the moon. This is really exciting. But I'm excited too about the private stuff, because it's opening up opportunities like that to continue happening, really big stuff. And it's giving more and more people the opportunity to just kind of touch space, to be able to lift off the planet, to float in that window for a few minutes and experience Earth from that really extraordinary vantage point. And there's really, I think there's very meaningful things that can come from that experience. And so more and more people having that opportunity, and those companies that are doing those flights, those are like the baby steps for them doing even bigger things in space that again turn into things that improve life on Earth. So I'm excited about all of that happening.
Yeah. So Nicole, before we sign off for today, you had the privilege, the excitement of leaving our planet, looking back at it, seeing that there's no country lines, seeing that it doesn't go on forever, seeing that there's this thin little line of atmosphere that keeps us safe. So I'm wondering, what was your main takeaway from seeing the Earth in a way that so few people get to and really should hopefully be able to one day?
Yeah, I think, the main thing for me was, and it's something everyone on this call already knows, and there's no denying it. It's like a reality check. It's like looking through that window, floating in front of the window, looking out, and just, oh my gosh, we live on a planet in space. It's like, we know that, but the reality of that in my face that way was really, really impressive. The fact that we're all Earthlings, like you said, Joe, only border that matters that you really even see is that thin blue line of atmosphere that blankets and protects us all on that planet. And really and truly, how important it is for us to accept our role as crewmates and not passengers on our planetary spaceship. Just like we do when we go to that International Space Station, that machine in space, how important that is to keeping us all alive in this place, to keeping Earth in a condition that allows us to survive and hopefully thrive. It's really, really important, this crewmates, not passengers. And I'm so grateful that, that you raised that kind of question too, because I think it's what it all comes down to. And that view out the window, extraordinary. But oh my gosh, I'm looking across my computer out into my backyard, and I can tell you, like we started out with, really, I'm hopeful that everyone, even if you never get to lift off the planet, that you just open your heart and mind to the awe and wonder that surrounds you every day. Joe, you are an explorer who has gone to some extraordinary places, and I know has witnessed the awesomeness of where we are in space. And We can look up at night and get that same kind of sense as you do when you look down at Earth from space. And I hope everyone just opens themselves up to that. And I do hope that everyone gets to go to space off the planet one day too.
All right. Well, Nicole, I want to start off with a huge shout out to our classrooms. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for those awesome questions. To the YouTube crew joining in as well. Always great to have you hanging out and playing Kahoot and such. And Nicole, it's always a pleasure to steal some of your time. You're a busy lady, so I know
we all are.
how valuable it is to steal it. So thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your experiences, perspectives, and what you've been doing since you've been back home as well.
Yeah, love it. And thanks. Please keep inviting me.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We're going to sign off for today. We hope to see you in more space events as the month goes on. But for now, we're going to say goodbye. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.